Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David Rooney, publisher of the Revelstoke Current, and this morning I'm speaking with Chuck Ferguson, a semi-retired businessman here in Revelstoke who is also running for City Council. Thanks for inviting me into your home, Chuck.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good.
Be in my own home, yeah.
Tell us, you're known to some people, particularly in the business community, but there are people here in town who don't know who you are, and this is an opportunity to describe yourself and tell them a bit about yourself.
Right. Well, raised in Peterborough, Ontario, and I was born in 1951, 63 years old, and decided I was in the hospitality industry all my life, and decided that wanted to get out of that and move out. Well, how it all started is my son decided he wanted to build a place in Revelstoke, so I said, well, I'm looking for a change, I'll come out there. I was working in Calgary and I was working in Abbotsford with a company that sells restaurant equipment, and I set up offices there, and I was familiar with the West a little bit, but I'd never been to Revelstoke, so I drove from Revelstoke to here on February the 4th, and I had a little Mazda 3 with summer tires on it. Didn't know what I was getting into when I came to Revelstoke, but I got here and everything was great, and I really fell in love with the town at that time. Found a location where we started the Village Idiot, and then 2 years later we started the Big Eddie Pub, and then just recently we started the Chubby Funsters restaurant. And being in the hospitality industry, I thought I could help the boys get it started and stuff, so I've been working with them, and then to sort of keep me busy on the side, I did a little bit of property maintenance for some people that have houses out 12 Mile. I was at 8 Mile there. And just after that, I bought a little skid steer, and I started plowing a little bit of snow, and everything became, you know, I'm fairly busy with stuff, but it's all stuff that I can manage quite easily. And my partner, Keitha, she came with me, and she's actually now working in Fort Mac, doing driving a coach bus. So she's busy doing that, and she comes home every 3 weeks for a week, and so I've got lots of spare time on my hands, so I decided I'd get involved in the municipal politics. I went to, there was a couple of focus groups, and I went to them, and I thought, if there's focus groups starting up that think there needs to be change, then there needs to be change. If a city ends up with that sort of attitude, then it's time for a change, and I was involved in municipal politics back in Peterborough, running campaigns and also federal and provincial, and so I thought, well, I know what it's all about, I'll get involved, and I just decided that I'd make it a point to go. I didn't want to run for mayor, and I just wanted to be involved in the council and get in some committees. I was past president for Rotary here. I've been in Rotary for 25 years, and came to Rotary in Revelstoke and really enjoy it. It's a good group of people. And then I got involved in the Begbie Manor seniors housing, so I'm on the board for the Begbie Manor, and went through the whole growing process there with the new villas and stuff that we put up, and so I know I got a pretty good finger on the pulse of the town, and really enjoy it. I love Revelstoke. I would never move back to Ontario. It's a great lifestyle, and my kids are all out here now. So, and my third son just came here a little while ago, and they're staying here with me right now. But they're getting a place of their own, and looking forward to it.
Sounds like the whole family's out here.
Everybody's out here.
Oh, that's good.
Everybody's out here, so it's great.
Tell me, what do you regard as the major issues facing the city right now?
Well, I think that the spending is a huge problem. It's simple economics. It's not that complicated, but they can't continue spending the way they are. I mean, and it's not that. I mean, we're the envy of probably the province for our fire department and our board of works and equipment and everything else, but there's just there's got to be a reality to it, and I think that's where. With the debt the way it is and the taxes the way they are, and that's a concern, because I know where we are over in the Big Eddie. We have our own septic system, we have our own water, and our taxes are still unbelievably high. And when this Big Eddie Waterworks thing, that was the one that tipped the scale for me, because that's something that should have been done a long time ago, and I think that
well, that's a
there was a lot of
difficult
resistance.
one.
There was a lot of resistance to it. I know.
They had a separate water license, and
Yeah.
they insisted when they were absorbed by the city back in I think '81 that nobody was going to touch it.
Yeah.
So,
But the
no
city
way to
has a
force it.
responsibility when we're paying the kind of taxes that we are over there.
Yeah, but you
It's
don't
the
pay,
same.
you don't pay city water and sewer.
No, but we still pay
Yeah.
very high taxes. I mean, we pay for plowing the snow. That's basically it.
Yeah.
There hasn't been, from talking to people in the Big Eddy, there hasn't been a lot of changes over there, paving or infrastructure of any kind. So I think it's time that they get recognized as, a good part of the city. And I know that's going to cost a lot of money. And so there's got to be ways to figure it out. There's a lot of problems, and I know that reserves are low, and you can't raise the taxes forever.
Well, not when there's a declining population.
No, exactly.
And a business community that is, shall I be kind and say, ailing.
Yeah.
So how do you grapple with that? What do you do? I mean,
Well,
you can't cut taxes because that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
We had taxes that were very low, or relatively low for 30 years.
Yeah.
And people didn't spend money on infrastructure. Now we're got to spend money on infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, the reality of it is, like, if people are leaving, what's the reason for them leaving? I find there might be, there's not a lot of young people leaving. There's a lot of young families coming here. The school won't be big enough with all these babies and stuff that are coming right now. I know, just in people that I know myself, there's been like 7 or 8 newborns in town. My kids moved here and they brought they had a new baby, and they've got little kids. And the kindergarten, from what I understand from what Mike Hooker mentioned, that it won't be big enough in a couple of years. In 3 years, they figure they'll have to figure out a way to get a bigger kindergarten. So young people are moving here, and they don't have the high-paying jobs, and I think a lot of the kids come here for the lifestyle for sure. And I think a lot of the seniors move away because of the snow, so they move to smaller places like Kelowna and Salmon Arm and that sort of thing. But I don't think you're seeing, the biggest problem is that business is not attracted to here because taxes are high. It's complicated to get business started here, and I know from our experience we waited 5 months to get a sign for the village idiot, and then we went through the process where they decide what color we paint our buildings and what size of signs we can have on them. And I know it's all for aesthetics, but we were in the Big Eddy with the Big Eddy, and we had to conform to the colors and everything, and never liked them right from the start. But we decided to move on and get by that, and we've worked our way, and it's doing very well now. The bridge is a concern. They say that in 5 years they might have to close the bridge. That's a historic item there. It was built in 1924. In another 4 or 6 years, it'll be 100 years old.
And it's showing every year.
I'll bet you the highway bridge goes before the train bridge goes.
Well, the highway bridge.
It's got a lot of issues too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge problem.
Oh, yeah.
The city's not going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, but.
Yeah. But what happens if there's a fire on the other side, and there's an accident on that bridge, or there's been lots of accidents at that intersection in front of McDonald's? How do you get fire services over there if you don't have the Big Eddy Bridge?
Good question.
How do you get an ambulance over there if someone's taking a heart attack and somebody happens to, or if there's an accident further out the highway? How do we get vehicles out there if there's one in? These are all hypothetical things, but we need 2 crossings there. Just to risk your life going out onto going across the bridge there, if you work over on this side, it's an issue that's going to have to be looked at. And then there's all kinds of other issues in town too. I know there's infrastructure problems and the sewage plant and everything else. So, I know that there's probably grants and stuff for historic items like the bridge. I don't know. Something we have to look into a lot more. But there can't be many of those bridges left on the Highway 1. That's the original Highway 1.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so maybe it's
That's
something that the
before it was
historic
that's
society.
before it was a hybrid
Yeah,
one.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it might be a historic item. We can get grants and stuff for it. And I really feel that the only if we had a system where if people come to town and want to open a business, we give them a package. We welcome them. Instead of saying, "Oh, you got to follow this, this, and this." Some sort of.
Is there no package like that?
Well, there's a package like they'll tell you where a few resources are, but they don't have a complete package, and they don't go after this stuff. They don't go to trade shows and stuff. I really feel that if you went to a trade show and you saw a little green company that was just starting up, something in recycling, maybe a little company that builds canoes or kayaks or makes paddles, small cottage industries is what's going to be attracted here, because those people like this lifestyle. There's 2 or 3 ski companies in town. The heli ski outfits, they've been here for years, but little things branch out from that. I drive the shuttle and I talk to people from Europe all the time. I got a great idea for this little town, They've got from Sweden. I was talking to a guy, and he said, that I've got a little business here that I build these special type of whitewater kayaks. It'd be a great spot to have it. I said, well, bring it on,
Mm-hmm.
But, and we don't have the space for large industry. I think there should be a trucking depot in town. When you think of it.
What do you mean by a trucking depot?
And
like the places you see on, like, say, I-95 down the States?
No, not a flying, not a gas trucking depot. More of a transfer station. When I also sell a little bit of business that I was in before. I sell some restaurant equipment. I order stuff from Edmonton, Calgary. It comes all the way through and goes to Kelowna. They put it on another truck and bring one item back from Kelowna to here. And an item that would normally cost me for the distance $300 to ship will cost me $500. Why not have a trucking depot here where Calgary, they drop it off in Revelstoke, it goes to Kelowna, it goes to McCusp, it goes to Nelson, it goes to Castlegar, it goes to Kamloops, and then have another truck. These people would be able to travel and be back home in one day.
That's a good idea.
And there's space. There's a few spaces that I've talked to different people about for that. And one of the things that does, it not only brings makes our shipping costs cheaper in this area, but it also allows people to start a business here and ship their stuff to Alberta, Kamloops, and back east and everything else from here, right from here, instead of having to call somebody from Kelowna to come here and pick it up. And talk to people in the trucking business, and they're very interested in it. And I think it's not a huge building. It's a building maybe 100 feet long with 5 doors on each side, and all they do is back the truck up and transfer the stuff back and forth. It's just an idea. I mean, maybe it's not feasible for the large trucking companies, but if we don't approach it or go after it, and that's what we need is, I would even go as far as saying, I would go to trade shows. I love going to trade shows because I've done it all my life with different things, and I wouldn't even mind going at my own expense to see if there's people.
Careful with that.
Yeah, well, I do it. I do it now. So, I love going to trade shows and stuff, and when I go back east, there's all kinds of big trade shows there that are worth going to. People are looking for places to manufacture stuff at a reasonable price and stuff like that. So, and we've got some industrial land out here that just been sitting there since I came here. Mm-hmm. And out in the West Bank, or West Side there, West Side Road, and it's you see different people starting. I mean, I know it's in the CSRD out to 23 and stuff, but there's people starting little businesses there, helicopter business. Now Eagle Pass have their new day lodge out there. This is all great stuff for the city. And I know that people say it's declining population, but I think you'll see growth now. I mean, we've gone through the 2008 recession. It started in 2008. Nobody could predict that. I mean, there was lots of people that did, but nobody believed them. And then we follow the United States anyways. And so we're just coming out of that. And I've seen it in my lifetime. I'm 63. I've seen it 5 or 6 times. Yeah. It's a 10-year cycle. So we got 7 years to make hay. And we've got to start looking at that stuff. So I think more from a personal standpoint, I think it just takes a little more effort, and it might be something that you don't get paid for or paid enough for, but it's worth going after, you know, and that's the way I look at the city council. I mean, it's not, you don't do it for the money, that's for sure. You know, you do it because you want to help the community. And
what about affordable housing as an issue, Chuck? What do you think of that?
I think it's a huge issue. I think the city's got to get on side and try and help get this thing going, because, like I say before, every year that you put it off, it ends up costing more money. And what is the end result of that? You know, it costs the city more money. It costs us, you know, the affordable, or not us, but the affordable housing group have a grant in place that they can. It might go away. And then what do we do for affordable housing?
Well, that's right.
It's
It
a big
hasn't
concern.
been formally announced yet.
No.
You know, I mean, the
Yeah.
BC Housing hasn't come out and said, here's your $1.4 million.
Oh, I understood that it was in place.
Well, it hasn't been formally announced. And it won't be announced until the society gets a building permit.
Yeah, yeah. See, that shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to work with the city, or the group should be able to work with the city and get that resolved very quickly. I mean, it just takes everybody sitting down in one room and get it done, you know. And I think I mean, you go around this city and there's all kinds of things that, you know, for a long time I understand there was no building inspector here, so there's a lot of issues with building inspectors and that sort of thing. But I think we have to be a little more lenient and get these things so they're in place. Work with the people. I know that if you went to the building department and said, you know, this is what our plan is, you get it in place. This is exactly what happened with the waterworks over there. The city doesn't control the waterworks, but they control the building permits. So the bylaw says if they don't have a certain amount of pressure in the hydrants, then they can't build over there. So the city enforces the building permits, but doesn't do it. Or they're trying to. I really honestly believe they're trying to do something about it. All that the group wanted to do was get an amendment to the bylaw so they can continue to develop over there, knowing that in 5 years we're going to have this fixed. And that's a pretty easy thing. I don't think that's too much to ask at all. That's all they really wanted to ask. It wasn't a big controversial thing. That happened to be because there was no transparency to it. The group wasn't told that there was an issue about the water until it all came to head.
And this has been the city has known about this since last December.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you know, it's you know, without getting all negative about everything, I think the city could just easily say, we'll amend the bylaws so that you can continue to develop for the next 5 years until we get the infrastructure sorted out. It's been like that for how many years? There's never been a shortage of water.
Since 1949.
Yeah, and all the fires have been put out. There's never been an issue with a fire over there. Trailer fires are a big issue right now because there's been 2 or 3 since I've been here. And
one was fatal.
And one was fatal, and you know, like that's, these things are getting pretty old, and there's problems with wiring and everything in them, I'm sure, because 2 of them are electrical, I believe. And you know, it's an issue that the fire department's going to have to look at closely, I think. When they're fighting these fires, I mean, by the time they get there, these things are going full blast.
Oh yeah.
It's bad fires. Yeah.
Okay. Chuck, is there anything you'd like to say in closing here?
Just that you know, I want people to know that I'm a hard worker, and I'm willing to get my hands dirty if I have to get in there and do whatever it takes to do it. I know that there's going to be a lot of tough decisions in the next council, and the council has to be strong, and they have to be diligent with the way they handle everything. I know that you know, we're all in this mess together. It's like a family. If you have to, you know, cut spending or, you know, do whatever you have to do, it's like when you don't just you have to go all the way around. It has to be something that everybody works together on, and if you can get the city united in that way, then, you know, it won't take that long to get it cleaned up. And I think with transparency and people know what these situations are, they'll work with you. I've always found that if you're honest and straightforward with people, you can deal with all the situations, and everybody has to put in, though. It's not just one group or, you know, one department or whatever. Everybody has to you know, be involved.
Okay. Chuck, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.